She opened the door to her own nightmare. The 24th of February, 1986. A quiet morning in Los Angeles. Inside a townhouse, a young woman lay dead, bitten, and shot in cold blood. The scene was brutal, the crime personal. Police called it a burglary gone wrong, but they were wrong. For 23 years, the truth stayed buried, hidden in plain sight. The real killer was one of their own, a police officer who thought she could get away with murder. This is the story of obsession, betrayal, and a shocking betrayal of justice. This is the murder of Sherri Rasmussen. Sherri Rasmussen was a woman with a bright future. At just 29, she was a director of nursing, respected and admired in her field. She had recently married John Ruetten, the man she loved. But love stories aren't always fairy tales. In the shadows, someone else was watching. Someone who wanted John for herself. Her name was Stephanie Lazarus, John's ex-girlfriend. She wasn't just another woman left behind. She was a cop, armed, trained, and unwilling to let go. Stephanie and John had a casual relationship before he met Sherri, but for Stephanie, it was more than that. When John got engaged, she was furious. She showed up unannounced at his home, tried to rekindle their past, and refused to accept that John had moved on, and she made sure Sherri knew it. Sherri told her family and friends that Stephanie was harassing her, appearing at her workplace, confronting her in parking lots, even showing up at her home. Her message was clear. Sherri was in the way. The 24th of February, 1986. John left early for work. Sherri stayed home, nursing a cold. At some point that morning, a killer walked through the door. The struggle was vicious. Sherri fought for her life. Furniture was overturned, glass shattered. But the most chilling clue? A bite mark on Sherri's arm. A mark left by her killer. And then 3 gunshots. Sherri was executed in her own home. The killer took their time, staging the scene to look like a botched burglary. But something didn't add up. When police arrived, they saw what they expected to see. Broken glass, missing items. They called it a robbery. But Sherri's father, Nels Rasmussen, knew better. He told detectives about Stephanie Lazarus, about the threats, about the obsession, but his words fell on deaf ears. Stephanie was one of them, a cop. The case went cold. For 23 years, the truth stayed buried. But DNA never forgets. In 2009, a new team of detectives reopened the case, and there it was. The bite mark on Sherri's arm had preserved DNA. And the killer was a woman. It was the breakthrough they needed. Detectives set up a sting operation, secretly collecting Stephanie Lazarus's DNA from a discarded cup. The results? A match. Stephanie wasn't just a suspect. She was the murderer. The 5th of June, 2009. LAPD detective Stephanie Lazarus was called in for questioning. She thought it was just another case. She had no idea the case was her own. Stephanie, we have DNA evidence. We know you killed Sherri Rasmussen. After decades of living as a respected officer, Stephanie Lazarus was finally caught. In 2012, she was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to 27 years to life. For Sherri's family, it was a moment of justice, but justice delayed is justice denied. Sherri Rasmussen should still be alive today. She should have grown old with her husband, had children, saved more lives as a nurse. But instead, her life was stolen by a woman who thought she could manipulate the system and get away with murder. For over 2 decades, the LAPD protected one of their own. A killer was among them, walking the halls of justice with a badge and a gun. But in the end, the truth always comes out. If this case teaches us anything, it's that justice is only possible when we refuse to stop searching for the truth. And sometimes the most dangerous criminals are the ones who wear a badge. Sherri Rasmussen's case was solved because of relentless pursuit and forensic science. But how many other cases remain buried, unsolved, ignored? If you believe in justice, demand it. Speak up, ask questions, keep fighting for the truth. Because no matter how deep a crime is buried, justice will find its way to the surface.